And now on Nights with Steve Price from the 50-Up Club, Christopher Zinn.
Christopher, good evening to you.
Yes, good evening, Steve.
As a 50-Up Club member, which I am, I would consider myself to be conservative about matters that have always been traditional. I'm a traditionalist, and I even still, believe it or not, write out cheques and send letters and put stamps on envelopes, all of those things. People think I'm mad doing it. I don't do net banking, all that stuff. I pay my American Express card by cheque. I might soon not be able to even get my American Express bill delivered to my house because the post office might sack all the posties.
Well, look, hopefully it won't come to that, although it has come to it in parts of Canada, which is the first of the G7 countries. We know you actually have to go to a community letterbox. So that hasn't been directly flagged here. In Australia, Post say that they're going to maintain deliveries, albeit them less frequently and the mail less speedy. But, you know, there's this McKell Institute report out today really warning that unless they get the sums right in the business, that's the kind of future we could face. Unless they diversify and really become a digital business and innovative, we could face what the Canadians have.
I've got to say, as from a residential point of view, forget business for a moment, so let's split the two operations apart, so have business mail on the left and residential on the right. If I only got one delivery of mail a week at home, it wouldn't worry me at all. I don't think you need a postman every day.
No, and I think that's interesting. And one of the things, we're putting a little quiz on the 50-Up Club site asking people what they think about the post office. I think many people are very used to it, but actually whether they need it, because, of course, most of the delivery, 80%, is government and business mail, usually bills or advertising material. So it's nothing that I think most people really look forward to. Yeah, you cannot have it every day, but there is, you know, it's a very entrenched tradition. Changing that is going to be a bit of a shock to some people, although with this brave new digital world, we have to get used to such things.
Well, when you think about how in our lifetime your local post office has changed, when I was growing up, the post office was simply a place of mail. You went there and you bought envelopes, you bought stamps, you posted letters. Probably you usually only went to the post office if you had a parcel that you'd wrapped up and you wanted to send it as parcel post, or in latter years if you wanted to send something express post. Today you go to the post office, it's like going into a combination of Bunnings and Target.
And bookshops, and every time you go in there seems to be something else, although, you know, the marketing people say this confuses the customers as to what the post office is about. And if you just want to buy one simple stamp, my experience is queuing a long time while people do passports, pick up online parcels that they have to deliver. So, look, there are pluses and minuses with it. But it seems to be that the experts say that there has to be a very clear idea of what the post office does, and that has to be something looking to the future, has to be some sort of hub for innovating digital businesses. Obviously, there are, you know, some people, particularly older people, who go there to pay their bills in cash or with piles of coins. There has to be that sort of ability. And one of the things that makes the post office special is this community service obligation that in order to have a monopoly over letters, that's an area no one can compete. They have to deliver things, you know, within a certain time. They have to provide various services, and there has to be access. And especially considering that, you know, nearly 60% of post offices in the country, and there are 4,500 are in rural and regional places. They do serve perhaps a very different function for those ones in the suburbs. I
presume because you can pay everything from a gas bill, an electricity bill, a parking fine at a post office, that they must get a percentage, or they must be paid by all those organisations to allow that access, are they?
I would hope so. I mean, I'm sure.
Because I can't work out how they're going broke. I mean, they can't make money, but if you can do all those things there, surely all the big energy providers and the local councils must be surely paying some sort of licence fee or something to the post office to do that.
They would do that, and they would get the benefit of people queuing and eyeballs and buying, you know, buckets and spades and goodness knows what else they sell. The problem really is, though, that the letter business has just dropped so substantially after, you know, they had a peak. Peak mail was in 2007. It's dropped 20% then, and they've just made their first loss. So the letter business were the equivalent rivers of gold of newspaper classified advertising, and essentially that's running out. And the parcel area, of course, is very competitive, and we've just had Japan Post buying into one of the very big parcel deliverers here. So
Toll
there's a lot
Holdings.
of competition. Yeah, very big, lot of competition in that area. And that makes it very hard for Australia Post. They have to find alternative revenues.
Well, I would have thought they would have been on in the ground floor in that area, because everybody now buying online has to have their online purchases delivered at some point by somebody. And rather than letting, UPS, United Parcel Service or Toll or whoever else, you would have thought Australia Post would have aggressively got in there and put their foot on that business and laid claim to it.
You would have hoped so, and it's 70% of the parcel mail is generated by online purchases. But I think anyone who's actually tried to send a parcel locally or even send it overseas, Australia Post is pretty high cost. Perhaps they haven't been able to negotiate the bulk deals with the big senders of online parcels, and certainly there is an advantage for those bringing, people sending parcels in from overseas for various reasons to do with the international agreements about parcel post. I think it's much cheaper to send one in than it is to send one out.
When was the last time you wrote a letter out longhand, put it in an envelope and sent it to someone?
I think it was to an old girlfriend. Although, no, actually, I'll tell you what it was.
An old girlfriend last week.
Yeah, no, it was actually when it was to send it was to someone whose parent had died, and all the cards were so schmaltzy and mawkish, I couldn't bear to buy one. And I think in those events you do actually write something, and there's really no replacement for it. An email to me doesn't cut the mustard.
No, I agree with that.
And that's why there will always, I'd always say, if you're doing a campaign, if you want to reach somebody, send in a letter, because they're much more likely to open it and look at it, given that these things are now so rare.
That's a very good point. And would it worry you at home if you only had mail delivered once a week? Because it's not mail you want anyway.
Yeah, I think twice a week, maybe once a week would be a bit much, because... but look, I'm old-fashioned like you. I get magazines I subscribe to delivered. I don't want to read them on tablets or anything else. But certainly as far as most of the bills and the boring stuff goes, yeah, that could come once a week. I wouldn't mind that.
That's a good point. Jump on to 50upclub.com. They are running a poll there on the post office and mail services. Catch you next week.